Vesna Vulovic, the woman who fell from 10,000 meters and survived. At the center of one of the most enigmatic events in history is a strong and captivating woman, Vesna Vulovic. How was it possible for a young flight attendant to survive an incredible fall from over 10,000 meters without a parachute? Date: January 26, 1972. Place: an isolated hill in Czechoslovakia. A heartbreaking cry breaks the silence, attracting the attention of Bruno Honke, a resident of the nearby village. What he discovered there was beyond comprehension: the wreckage of an airplane destroyed in a terrible explosion. But in the midst of the chaos, a miracle: a woman, Vesna Vulovic, dressed in the characteristic uniform of flight attendants, wandering among the rubble. How did it get there? And more importantly, how did he survive? Her humble origin and unexpected path to the heavens add a touch of mystery to the whole story. Just 8 months before the tragedy, Vesna was a young Serbian woman who had just started a career in aviation. With low blood pressure, her chances of becoming a flight attendant seemed slim. But how did he manage to overcome this obstacle? The plot grows with the details of his journey to catastrophe. During a routine flight on the route Stockholm-Belgrade, with a stopover in Copenhagen, events precipitated in an unexpected and earth-shattering way. An explosion rocked the plane, the heartbreaking sound of disintegration filling the fearful air. After the moment of impact, the only person left alive, miraculously, was Vesna. But how did he survive this tragedy? Her position on the plane and an unexpected element may have played a crucial role in her chance of survival. But the mystery continues: how could such a fragile young woman recover so quickly from such trauma? What superhuman forces were involved in her miraculous healing? People asked questions, and the answers were as surprising as the story itself. It is said that the condition that prevented her from going to heaven, low blood pressure, may have been her very salvation in this tragic situation. But mystery continues to loom after his miraculous recovery. What made Vesna not to give up her dream of flying, even after such a tragedy? And what other secrets does her astonishing story hide? In the end, her fate was as enigmatic as his entire life. Vesna Vulovic, a heroine of survival, left behind a story that continues to fascinate and inspire. A story that remains in history as an unsolved mystery, full of drama and miracles. Vesna Vulovic was the protagonist of one of the most fascinating stories of survival in history. On the evening of January 26, 1972, Bruno Honke heard a cry coming from a hill near his village in Czechoslovakia. He went in search of the source of the cry and discovered something shocking: the wreckage of an exploded plane. Although it seemed impossible that there would be any survivors, Honke realized that someone had nevertheless faced the disaster. At the crash site, he found a barefoot woman dressed in a flight attendant's uniform. The woman's name was Vesna Vulovic. Although she was not aware of it, she had just survived a fall from over 10,000 meters, setting an incredible record, the highest fall without a parachute. Of Serbian origin, Vesna Vulovic was 22 years old and had been working as a flight attendant for only 8 months. After a trip to London to learn English, in 1971 Vesna applied for a flight attendant position with Yugoslavia's national airline, JAT. With her low blood pressure, Vesna knew she had little chance of passing the medical exam. Therefore, even before the consultation, he drank several cups of coffee, hoping that the magical liquor would raise his blood pressure. Fortunately for her, the trick worked and Vesna was allowed to attend the training program. Just 8 months after starting her career, the young woman was asked to work on JAT Flight 367 on the route Stockholm-Belgrade, with a stopover in Copenhagen. Although she realized that the JAT people had confused her with another colleague, also named Vesna, she decided to complete the mission. It seemed to him a good opportunity to see Denmark, a country where he had not traveled before. But when she arrived in Copenhagen, the young woman discovered that the rest of her colleagues were more interested in shopping than in walking. Moreover, the captain spent the 24 hours of the layover in the hotel room, refusing to come out. On January 26, 1972, at 1:30 p.m., the crew boarded Flight 367, which took off at 3:15 p.m. After only 46 minutes of flight, the disaster happened. At 4:01 p.m., an explosion occurred in the hold of the aircraft. The plane disintegrated in flight, crashing from an altitude of over 10 kilometers near the village of Srbska Kamenice in Czechoslovakia. Of the 28 people on board, only Vesna Vulovic survived. Vesna Vulovic miraculously healed. Fortunately, Bruno Honke, the man who discovered her, had been a doctor during World War II and managed to keep her alive until rescuers arrived. Vesna had both legs and 3 broken vertebrae, as well as multiple pelvic and skull fractures. After being transported to a hospital in Prague, Vesna Vulovic was in a coma for several days. In addition to injuries and fractures, the young woman also had intracranial hemorrhage and total amnesia. For a month, he did not remember anything that had happened. The last thing he remembered was helping passengers board. Although she could have died or remained paralyzed, within 10 months of the accident Vesna Vulovic was on her feet again, to the surprise of the doctors. For such an accident, the recovery period was short and incredibly efficient. Vesna instantly became a national heroine. Josip Broz Tito, the leader of Yugoslavia, received her for a visit, the highest honor a citizen of Yugoslavia could obtain at that time. There were songs dedicated to her, and she was often invited to first-hand TV shows. Vesna also became a fashionable name for newborn girls, as mothers assumed it brought good luck. The peak of her international fame came in 1985, when the Guinness Book of Records invited her to London. Here, she was awarded in the category Fall from the Highest Altitude Without a Parachute, and Paul McCartney, Vesna's idol, presented her with the award. How did Vesna Vulovic survive? And yet, how did the young woman manage to survive such an accident? Investigators believe it's all down to his position on the plane at the time of the explosion. When the fuselage disintegrated, Vesna Vulovic was at the back of the plane with the food cart. While other passengers were sucked out of the plane after the explosion, she was pinned to the piece of aircraft by the food cart. That piece of the plane fell on a wooded hillside. Doctors also say that what saved Vesna Vulovic was the very condition that prevented her from becoming a flight attendant. Doctors believe the low blood pressure helped keep his heart from failing during the fall. Due to the fact that she did not remember anything during the tragedy, the young woman remained passionate about flying. Although she wanted to resume her activity as a flight attendant, the JAT company only offered her an administrative position. After retirement, he lived in Belgrade until the age of 66, when he died of a heart condition.